Crack was at the top of his game, top of his form. He was top in his field. Crack was a thief. It's kind of hard when you're a thief to find someone to talk shop with because you never know who might turn you in. So it got a little bit lonely. So he was kind of pleased one night when he was sitting in a tavern eating his stew, and he went to check the time and his pocket watch was missing. There was only one person good enough to lift a watch from Crack. That would have been Crook. It had to be that stranger sitting across from him. So Crack did the only thing he could do. He lifted back his watch and Crook's wallet and finished his stew. When Crook went to pay, he went to pull out his wallet and couldn't find it. Crook got a big old grin on his face and said, "Hello, you must be Crack." Crack said, "You must be Crook." And they struck up a friendship. They started talking about that heist one pulled off last week, the caper the other one pulled off last month, and how do you break into those new windows they're putting in all the cottages. They had a wonderful time, and they decided to form a partnership. The first caper, the first heist as a partnership, what should it be? Go big, think large. The king's treasury. We would have to think outside the box for this, said Crack. We have to think outside the box. There's guards all around the castle, and Crook said, we don't think outside the box, we think under the box. We dig a tunnel. They dug that tunnel under the castle and found themselves in the nether regions of that huge old fortress. They wandered around until they found the treasury. They went down these stairs, opened up the king's treasure room, and they took bags and bags of gold coins, silver coins, bags of jewels, as many as they could carry. And they walked right back out of the castle through that tunnel, and they went back to their homes. The king, the next morning, when he discovered this theft, was purple with rage. Steam came out of his ears. When I discover who did this, I'm going to hang them till they're dead, chop off their heads, burn them alive, and then I'm putting them on bread and water for 60 days. I have to figure out who did it first. They say it takes a thief to catch a thief. Where can I find a thief? He looked to his own dungeons and found an oily, nasty little man named Snare. Snare was the type of guy who would sell his own mother for, well, he'd already done that. He was the type of guy who would betray his grandmother in order to, he'd done that too. He would trade out his firstborn son, no, he'd done that. Well, the king called up Snare, and Snare set up a deal. "Oh, your majesty, your majesty, I'll gladly help you find out who did this, but in return, I go free, and I want a royal title." The king took a step back and kind of cleaned off his shoes a little bit, felt like he'd stepped in something, and said, "Okay, fine, but you have to find me who did this deed." "Oh, there can only be one possible person, maybe two in the whole kingdom who could do this. Yeah, it'd have to be Crack or maybe Crook, but probably both of them together. Yeah, here's what you do. Raise the price of meat up to about 100 silver coins per pound, and nobody will be able to buy meat, nobody in the whole kingdom, except the people who robbed your treasury. And then when somebody buys meat, we'll know it's them." The king thought, "Oh, okay, that sounds like a good plan. We'll do that." Days passed. People ran out of money to buy meat. Nobody purchased meat. But then the king got a report of a friar, a monk-type character, coming into a butcher shop to buy meat. Oh, that has to be them. That has to be either Crack or Crook. They bought the meat. Now we have them. I'll go out disguised myself. I'll be like a beggar, and I'll go begging, and whoever gives me meat, that'll be them. I'll mark the door with like a red mark, and then you'll know where to go and arrest them. And the king said, that sounds good. Snare dressed up like a beggar. He put dirt on his face. He went begging from door to door. Oh, food for a poor beggar. Please, please, food for a beggar. It's been days since I've eaten. He got to one door, and it was Crack's house. And Crack was a thief, but he was a compassionate man. He gave meat to the poor beggar. Oh, meat, thank you, thank you. And as soon as that door shut, he marked the house with a red mark. He went rushing back to the castle. We have him, Your Majesty! We have him! Look, meat, meat! Ha ha ha! Oh, we have it! The king gathered his guards, their pikes, their staffs, their muskets, to go out and arrest the thief. Crack took a step outside his house. There was something a little bit off about the beggar. And he noticed that red mark. And so he did the only thing he could do. He marked all the houses for round about with that red mark. So when the king's guards came to arrest him, they didn't know what house to go to. Crack went free. And the guards went back to the castle. Snare said, "Ah, Your Majesty, I told you they were tricky. I told you they were foxy. But they'll be running out of money soon. There's something else we can do. They'll be back. They'll be back. What we'll do? Oh, this one's good. You're gonna like it. We're gonna wax the steps so that they're slick. And then at the bottom of the steps, we'll put a big tub of pitch, of boiling tar at the bottom. And they'll slip. They'll slip right on that step, and they'll go in that boiling pitch, and then they'll die." And the king said, "Oh, okay, we'll do that." Well, Snare was right. Crook and Crack were excellent thieves, but they were bad money managers. So they needed more money. So they went back in that tunnel, which had not been discovered because they were good thieves. They went back in that tunnel, going through the nether regions of the castle, down those steps into the treasure rooms. And all of a sudden, Crook's foot slipped right out from underneath and tumbling down the stairs. And he fell into that tub of boiling pitch, and he died. Crack rushed down. Crook, Crook, but he was gone. He tried to pull his friend's body out of that tub, but it was stuck fast. He did the only thing he could do. He cut off Crook's head. He had to. It would identify Crook. He had to protect himself, but he also had to protect Crook's wife. If Crook was identified, they would take everything she had. So he left instead of with bags of treasure with his friend's head. The next morning, Crook and Snare came down the stairs. "Oh, we got him, we got him, oh, we have him, oh, we have somebody." "That's okay, I know how to identify him, I know how we can find him." It said, "You're gonna love this one." We take the body out, and we drag it behind 2 horses through the town, and wherever we hear weeping and wailing, wherever we hear that, that'll be his house, because they'll be all sad because he's dead and helpless. The king said, "Okay, but if this doesn't work, you're back in the dungeon for a very long time." They dragged poor Crook's body through the town, behind those 2 horses. Crack was at Crook's house, comforting his widow, and when that body was dragged past her house, she did begin weeping and wailing over her husband. Crack did the only thing he could do. He threw down crockery and plates and cups made by the woman over in the next village, and then beautiful things. And the woman, because she paid a lot of money for him from the king's treasury, started weeping and wailing even more. Her husband's dead, her beautiful crockery's broken. Crack grabbed a broomstick and held it up in the air, and when the guards came rushing in to arrest the thief, he started as if he were going to hit her with it. And the guards saw what seemed to be A man beating his wife over broken crockery. Well, the guard said, "Oh, we understand. We have wives too. On with your business." And they walked out. And Crack went to Crook's widow, lifted her up off the floor, and set her in a chair. The king had Snare thrown back in the dungeon for a very long time and took matters into his own hands. He issued a proclamation, had it read throughout the town. "To whomever has been robbing my treasury, I will issue a full pardon if you can steal the sheets out from underneath me tonight as I sleep." Crack went forward and said, "No problem. You're on." The king sat in his room that night with his musket. Crack went to the cemetery at sunset and started digging and digging and digging up a corpse. He took that corpse and a coil of rope, and he went to the castle, climbed up to the top, and held that corpse down till it dangled in front of the king's window. The king, seeing that form silhouetted behind the moonlight, in front of the moonlight, shot at it. Bang! And Crack let go. The king dashed out of his bedroom, down the stairs, down the stairs, down the stairs. It was a big castle. Down the stairs, down the stairs, down the stairs, and out the door to make sure that that thief was dead. Crack, meantime, tied off the rope, lowered himself down the wall, slipped in the room, took the sheets, climbed back out the window, and was gone. The king did the only thing he could do. He issued the pardon. And just to keep Crack under his eye, he married him to his daughter. Crack gave up his thieving ways, except for one. He had the rest of his life to work on stealing his wife's heart. And that's the story of Crook.